President Trump is set to deliver the commencement address at the University of Alabama. And leading up to the 2024 election, President Trump gained a lot of ground with young voters. Recent polling shows the youngest voters are embracing conservative values. So I spoke with some young Trump voters to get a report card on the president's first 100 days at the University of Dallas. Watch. Thank you guys for being with me here today. Let's start with a little bit of a poll. If you voted for President Trump in 2024, would you raise your hand? All right, here we are, 100 days into his second term. I'm curious, if you had a do-over today, how many of you would again vote for President Trump? That took a minute, Justin. Tell me what was in your thought process. Everyone else's hand went up pretty quickly, reaffirming what they chose in the fall. You thought about it for a minute.
Well, for me, the most important issue to me, my conviction, is that for the baby in the womb, I think we have an obligation to protect them. So that's the first thing. It's like you have two candidates. One is, if not pro-life, at least just wants to keep the status quo on abortion, whereas the other one wants to expand it, highly expand it. At the same time, though, all the other things that Trump has done, I'm personally not too big a fan of. I personally think that if Kamala was pro-life, I would have voted for her.
Emily, what do you like the most, or what has validated your vote for President Trump?
Just DOGE in general, I think it's well done. I think it's very much needed. If you look at the money we were spending, tens of millions of dollars for hotel rooms for illegal aliens in New York City, millions of dollars to promote LGBT in other countries, and over $15 million in Social Security payments for individuals above the age of 109. So, I mean, those are just a few things. I think DOGE is very necessary to kind of go in there and see what the government has been doing with our money and how we can better spend it. As a competitive dancer, I also really appreciate the fact that he has cracked down on men and women's sports because they have greater lung capacity, they have greater bone density, their hearts are bigger and can beat blood more easily. It's just patently unfair and also unsafe for the women, frankly, and so I really appreciate what he's done with that.
Kim, you're an athlete here at the University of Dallas. You play golf. Is that a big issue, as just laid out by Emily? Is trans men in women's sports, was that a big issue for you in your vote?
It certainly played a part in my vote. It wasn't, I would say, the main reason I voted for Trump, but what he has done with the trans issue has been exceptionally helpful for college sports, having the NCAA make very clear rules that protect athletes of both genders, as well as, I think, honestly help trans people by removing a point of controversy for sports that really sports doesn't need right now.
I'm curious with the rest of you. When you look at Elon Musk, when you look at DOGE, do you see this as a net positive for the United States? Marianne?
I consider DOGE to be a really innovative idea. I think it is important to have transparency between the people and the government as to where our taxpayer dollars are going. However, because it is such a new idea, as you just mentioned in your earlier statement, there's always going to be ups and downs when you bring innovation into the game. And so I think that's just a part of the process of figuring out how to make it more efficiently, how to make it more efficient, how to make government run more efficiently. There's always going to be some trial and error with that just because it's such a new idea, but I think it's good that they're doing that for the long term.
The philosophy has been move fast and often. So do you like that, not just with DOGE, but the entirety of the Trump administration?
I would say certain things. I think our system's set up to make things move slowly for a reason. I do not like that they've been trying to do everything through executive order. Ideally, Congress would be backing some of those things up. But I think things like immigration are necessary to, it's necessary to be done through executive order and do that quickly.
Marianne?
I'm also going to say that what he's done with immigration has been probably one of my favorite things, because as a daughter of two legal immigrants who came to the United States and someone whose parents are still trying to get my family from the Philippines to come to the United States. Like, I appreciate that they're trying to prioritize that and making sure that people can come here legally as opposed to illegally. In terms of my least favorite thing, it's probably going to be, I wish I could see more action from the administration regarding the pro-life movement, because while Dobbs, the overturning of like Roe v. Wade and everything, was a significant win for the pro-life movement, there are still some issues that are going on, such as with the abortion pills, and those getting transferred across state lines, even if it's illegal in a particular state. So I would like to see more action from the administration about that.
Justin?
I'm gonna be honest, I spent that entire time trying to come up with something I liked about what Trump has done. So I'll just start with something I've disliked, just his foreign policy, foreign affairs policies in general, how he's handled, the wars in the Middle East and in Ukraine, the tariffs, those are things, just the general foreign policy things that I'm not too big a fan of. As for a favorite thing, I guess when it comes to ensuring equality within like sports or something like that, or ensuring that women's sports are protected, women are protected, because I mean, transgenderism it's a whole other issue, but I think at the very least it's important to protect women in sports and the competitive field. So
You guys are young, you may change your points of view, and that's great. You shouldn't be expected to be the same 10 years from now that you are today. But what do you think will be the same for you? What will still be important?
So the most important thing is always going to be the welfare of American citizens, whether that's education and the broken education system, whether that's illegal aliens, and feel like you're losing your country in a sense, and national security issues. And so I think that's always just going to be the most important thing is economic freedom, religious freedom, the education system, and just the national security issues.
Yeah, I like your question because I know my opinions on certain things have been changing, especially during this time in college. You're learning a lot of new things. I know the one thing that won't change is my opinion on life, though. I think, we're seeing a lot of attacks on life with abortion and euthanasia. And so I think, 10 years down the line, 15 years down the line, wherever I am, unfortunately, Trump hasn't been that present, so we've had to focus on other things, but I hope future presidents can really take a strong stance on, look, if this is a life and we believe it's murder, then it's got to be stopped at a national level.
I really do appreciate Trump standing up to China, putting tariffs on China, because the FBI estimates that it costs us up to $600 billion a year with them stealing our intellectual property. Xi Jinping wants China to be the most powerful nation in the world, and they do not share our ideals. We have to be vigilant about that. So vigilance with our foreign adversaries, vigilance with the border, and even just making sure our allies don't take advantage of us.
All right. Emily, Aiden, Kim, Jude, Marianne, Justin. Awesome conversation. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.